It's Monday, September 8th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. The Prime Minister announces tariff funding for Atlantic Canadian businesses. Could new businesses be a U-turn for a struggling maritime street?
The next chance of showers for the region comes late Wednesday into Thursday, but mostly for Nova Scotia.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. We begin with some good news for wildfire evacuees. More than a dozen households are returning home in Nova Scotia's Annapolis County. The Long Lake fire that forced them to flee is now being classified as held. CTV's Callum Smith joins us in the news center. Callum, you listened to the update this afternoon. What's the current status?
Todd, as you mentioned, it is being held, and overall there are 19 households that are allowed to return home. And there's also a private community meeting that's underway at this hour for people still not allowed back. The fire is holding at nearly 85 square kilometers as crews try to make advances on it. The fire began August 13th and was blamed on lightning strikes. There are still about 107 homes where people are still not allowed to return. Crews have been working towards the fire's interior, meaning securing more area inside within the boundary of the fire. In many spots, crews and aircrafts have moved between 10 to several hundred feet in, trying to increase the secure perimeter line. Some rain last evening and all the work that's gone into the firefight so far have led to a positive update.
With all of that news and all the work that's been gone on, we are pleased to say that today that this fire is now classed as being held. That means that the fire is not likely to grow or move as long as conditions don't change. It is still not under control. It could still grow if conditions were to worsen again.
The fact that we're at this stage is just a huge relief for, I know, some of the evacuees. But with it, it is a bit of a double-edged sword because we also have members that cannot return to their homes. So we're trying to be respectful of that.
Now, the county has arranged extra waste collection for Thursday, recognizing there has been no power for some time. Officials are also asking people to do property walks when they return home. The deputy warden says he understands the frustration and helplessness for people still out of their homes that are how they're feeling and asking for their patience. An evacuee site visit is being planned, but the date is yet to be confirmed, calling the fire a sleeping giant. That is to say, it appears quieter now, but it's still an active forest fire that could take a turn for the worse. People are encouraged to work with the community's Navigator program to help. Todd.
A sleeping giant, rather ominous, Callum. All right, thank you for that. Callum Smith in the news center. And earlier today, some good news in New Brunswick. The city of St. John reopened trails in wooded areas in the port city. So conditions finally letting up a little. Still, rain didn't do much to help the drought-like conditions in Nova Scotia. Levels remain extremely low. Halifax's water supply in farm fields still rather dry. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness has details.
Water levels at Lake Major are now below acceptable levels.
Unless we get some unexpected significant amount of rain in the next few days, we'll be implementing mandatory restrictions later this week.
The Pockwalk Lake supply is critically low too.
It's a little bit of rain on the weekend, maybe that buys us a day, 2 days, but it's not buying us weeks and weeks of time.
Officials are discussing if restrictions are necessary for customers on both sources. If so, close to 350,000 people will be affected. A number of factors are to blame. Little snow in the winter, the absence of significant summer rain, and what the utility calls a lack of public compliance with the voluntary conservation measures they requested back in early August.
Everything that was voluntary will now become mandatory. So those things like watering your lawn, washing your car, filling pools, all that will now become mandatory. Absolutely cannot do that.
The weekend rain didn't do much for farmers either.
Of course, it's awful nice to get the rain, but in many crops it's a little too late, unfortunately.
That means low yields are expected for corn, carrots, and broccoli.
In Nova Scotia, we're intermittent irrigators, so we just kind of irrigate every now and then to help out when there's a dry spell. not a drought. Like we don't grow crops with irrigation.
Despite the diminished crops, Josh Olton expects most farmers will still follow through with the fall harvest.
We have this desire to feed people. And so even though we're only going to get half the crop, we're still going to harvest something, right?
As for Halifax Water, Brittany Smith says they're not sure what day the mandatory measures might come into effect. Smith adds that it will take a few consecutive days with rain to bring water levels back up. And Todd, Halifax Water had to impose mandatory restrictions for users on the Lake Major supply last summer. Brittany Smith tells me they've never had to do this for Pockwalk Lake because of drought. Todd.
All right, thank you, John McGinnis, for us in Halifax. There's a live look right now at Truro, where it's currently 18 degrees. Let's get our first look at the forecast. Bring in Kaylin Mitchell. Let's pick up on what we were talking about with John a moment ago.
Yes.
The rain that fell, or the little bit of rain that fell. You've got a slew of numbers behind you that tell the tale.
Yeah, and these are the type of rainfall events that we need. We just need more of them. This was a fairly widespread 10 to 30 millimeter rainfall across much of the Maritimes, so there were areas that didn't see those higher rainfall amounts that were lower, including in parts of the southwest of Nova Scotia, the Annapolis Valley area again, and probably in the vicinity of the Long Lake Wildfire as well. It was one of those areas that maybe only saw up to several millimeters of rain. Some parts of the south of New Brunswick, especially down to around the Bay of Fundy coastline, parts of Prince Edward Island, and some eastern areas of Nova Scotia, including some areas in Cape Breton, though there was still a little bit of light rain falling there at the start of the day today. So this is a good start, but we need several of these type of rain events, and that doesn't look likely as we continue to make our way through this month. Taking a look at where we are as far as a rain deficit goes, June through September so far around the Maritimes, you can see that through that period of time, these select sites in the Maritime region, I was trying to get a sampling of the entire area. You can see it running between around 30 and 50%. So even if we did get several more weather systems like the one we just had this past weekend, we're just starting to make up ground on some of that rain deficit. And of course, it's too late for many of those things like some of the agricultural impacts. And we've had the extreme wildfire danger throughout most of the summertime and now into these mandatory water conservation issues. Taking a look at rain chances for the remainder of this week, we do have a chance of showers, mostly for Nova Scotia, coming up late Wednesday into Thursday. It's with a low pressure system that's expected to pass off the Atlantic coastline of the province. That's why the chance of showers is highest for Nova Scotia, then lower for Prince Edward Island, and pretty negligible right now for New Brunswick. Taking a look at things on radar and satellite, speaking of New Brunswick, some clearing for tonight. And because of that, temperatures get brisk, and a frost advisory is in effect for much of the northwestern corner of that province. We'll talk more about those overnight low temperatures, more in the extended forecast when I'm back a little bit later on, Todd.
A word nobody wants to hear in September.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we'll see you in about 15 minutes. Small and medium businesses on the East Coast, hard hit by U.S. tariffs, will share $80 million of loans to offset the impacts. The Prime Minister made the announcement in Newfoundland this afternoon. CTV's Nick Moore has details.
And building our economic strength right here at home.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says ACOA will be responsible for distributing money from the Tariff Relief Fund, announced this afternoon.
$80 million for Atlantic Canadian small, medium-sized enterprises.
The $80 million comes from the $1 billion meant to help small to medium-sized businesses diversify markets and adopt new technologies amid the trade war.
Look, $1 billion is a lot of money. The overall format, $1 billion is a lot of money. And what we're allocating here is bigger than the relative share of population, the relative share of GDP of the overall Canadian economy, allocating that way.
The reality is there needs to be some expediency here. From an ACOA perspective, it'll be a question of potentially weeks and hopefully not months.
Louis-Philippe Gauthier is the Atlantic Vice President of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. A survey by the Federation found that 1 in 5 small Canadian business owners dealing with tariff costs won't last into the new year if the status quo lingers on.
And we saw it during the pandemic multiple times where programs had to be modified because the understanding of the federal government as to the impact on businesses was too set in one direction, and we had to do a lot of advocacy to extend the programs.
Carney said today the government is prepared to add more supports in the future. Nick Moore, CTV News, St. John.
Making this a web poll tonight, we are asking, do you think the Prime Minister's Tariff Relief Fund will help small businesses. And your options are yes, the fund will make a big difference. It will help some businesses, but not others. Or no, it's not enough to save small businesses. Now, just after 6:30, we'll ask an industry analyst if this money will work, if the program is set up in a way that can be used. To vote on today's poll, you can visit our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Fires that damaged 2 homes and 3 vehicles in a Cape Breton subdivision are being treated as suspicious tonight. Security was still on site today at these 2 homes on Leaside Drive in Cox Heath. Both houses suffered major damage as the result of fires that police responded to in the small hours last Wednesday. 3 vehicles were burned as well. No injuries were reported. Police and the Provincial Fire Marshal's office are investigating the case. The topic of homelessness is the focus of tonight's council meeting in St. John. The city will provide an update on new zones where encampments will not be permitted. Meanwhile, one councillor wants to eliminate all tent sites within a matter of weeks. CTV's Avery McRae has more.
St. John Councillor Greg Norton is presenting a motion to council that would essentially see all encampments on city-owned or managed properties removed within 2 weeks. The motion doesn't include a clear plan for what would happen to those living in tents.
This approach has never worked anywhere, ever.
Those who work with the city's homeless say a plan without a solution for those living on the streets will only worsen the situation.
If they're forced away from medical help or places where the outreach teams can't get to them to even inspect wounds, we're going to have hundreds of ODs because people can't get clean supplies. Harm reduction is going to be ignored because that does save lives.
But the city is rolling out its own plan tonight, different from Councillor Norton's proposal. It has a more gradual approach to ending encampments.
We will not be bulldozing down encampments. I mean, there are people in encampments. That just doesn't make any sense.
Mayor Donna Reardon says council will be presented with an update on its Housing for All strategy. That includes the implementation of red zones where tenting will not be permitted.
The plan is to have that human approach to encampments and to try to make things better for the citizens of St. John who have been crying for, some changes to encampments, and for people who actually live in encampments and, and need the help.
With the implementation of red zones, the city will also introduce yellow zones. They would be city-managed encampments that would have guidelines such as a 3-meter buffer between tents. Todd, there was a small protest organized by the St. John Community Coalition outside of City Hall ahead of tonight's meeting, fighting back against the introduction of red zones. They say the decision will push vulnerable people further into isolation, increase health and safety risks, and contribute to preventable deaths. Todd?
All right, Avery, and we'll have details of that tomorrow. Avery McRae in St. John. The future of Dartmouth Cove is back before Halifax Council. A new staff report recommends council wait before making bylaw changes that would prevent any infilling. As CTV's Jesse Thomas reports, that sparked debate.
For 2 years, the proposal to infill sections of the Dartmouth Cove waterfront has boiled over in the community, and at City Hall, a new staff report stops short of recommending council put any restrictions on any infilling right now. Instead, it recommends council wait for the downtown Dartmouth waterfront revitalization project to come back to council next year sometime. But one Dartmouth councillor doesn't want to wait.
My concern right now with the status quo is that while we wait for that waterfront plan, any number of property owners who own water lots here in Dartmouth Cove could infill.
Previous council had requested that staff reach out to the federal government to look at putting in similar rules they implemented at the Northwest Arm that requires a permit from City Hall to do any infilling of that waterway. Those are some of the same protections people want for Dartmouth Cove.
The company in question here that wants to infill this lot wanted to do so 3 years ago, and it's only through a few lucky twists and turns that they haven't been able to.
According to the staff report, there are 9 water lots contained within Dartmouth Cove, spreading over 4 hectares of land. One numbered company has pitched a proposal to dump more than 100,000 cubic meters of peritic slate and quarry rock into the harbor. The company says the project would create new land for development, like housing. But the residents argue there's no clear plan beyond the infill project. and that uncertainty is troubling.
If they don't really have a vision for what can go there, or they're just kind of spitballing a vision, do we really want the city to be fostering an environment that allows kind of like shoot first, ask questions later?
Councillor Austin wants bylaws in place now.
And look at imposing restrictions on infilling so that we can actually have that conversation about what we want out of this place that we all love.
Save Dartmouth Cove is holding a public meeting tonight to discuss the report, while council will debate it at City Hall Tuesday. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Dartmouth.
A last-minute snag in paperwork means a major Halifax housing project of nearly 400 units with dozens of affordable units could be at risk. CTV's Hafsa Arif explains why.
What you're looking at is the first phase of a 6-phase housing project. It includes a large number of dwellings for seniors. 64 units are well on their way to completion, but the entire project could be in jeopardy if the city doesn't approve 39 affordable units.
A requirement for CMHC financing, that is to have 10% of the buildings to be affordable.
The project was initially given the green light to proceed, and according to the developer, updated drawings were sent to city staff. But because they weren't uploaded to the official portal, he says the 39 units are being rejected.
We're going to have to come up with a significant amount of money to continue building, anywhere in the realm from like $20 to $30 million. It's something that I can say with confidence that I don't have.
Adding to the pressure, a mid-project bylaw change redefining what counts as a seniors complex.
I thought it would just be grandfathered under the old bylaw as long as we follow that recommendation within the letter. So, yeah, there's a big risk for a lot of people to lose their job.
The area councillor says he sees the mistakes, but also the bigger picture.
I get calls all the time for people here in the community looking for housing, and there's just none. So we need to do everything we can here at the municipal level to basically speed this up.
The decision in council chambers tonight could determine whether hundreds of future units could move forward. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Traffic tie-ups in the Sydney area have not only been frustrating drivers lately, they've been at the center of a number of collisions too. A number of construction projects have been snarling traffic on Kings Road in Sydney River, downtown Sydney, and along Highway 125. Constable Gary Fraser of the Cape Breton Regional Police says in some cases, drivers have been stuck in traffic between 45 minutes and an hour, and the frustrations and distractions have caused more than a few fender benders.
We've seen an increase in motor vehicle accidents since the construction. People aren't paying attention. They're looking at what's going on instead of watching what's in front of them. People are in a rush. We've had some road rage. We had some reports of road rage also. So we just want people to take their time, slow down, and take extra time going where you're heading to.
Constable Fraser added that accidents and emergency vehicles responding to them have tied things up even further. All right, time to take our first break of the week. On the other side, we need rain, but could we end up getting frost? Kaylin has the details. But next is a struggling maritime street in for a U-turn.
Good people attract good people, and the sense of community here, it's amazing.
A pair of businesses setting up shop on St. George Street, downtown Moncton, could mean good things. We'll tell you why. We've done extensive reporting on how drug use, crime, and homelessness have impacted Moncton. Well, tonight, signs of a possible U-turn for one downtown street. Here's CTV's Derek Haggett.
A section of downtown Moncton that has been plagued with issues for years is getting some much-needed good news. Two businesses have decided to move to St. George Street, and their new neighbors are more than happy to welcome them.
Good people attract good people, and the sense of community here, it's amazing. We're very fortunate where we are. It kind of feels like we're the hub, and we're seeing businesses coming around us.
This artisanal chocolate shop is moving a few steps to St. George Street, while the Taj Mahal restaurant, a Main Street mainstay for over 20 years, is moving into a former Deluxe French fries location. Good news for the camera shop located right across the street for 4 decades.
It sure is. You can see there's a lot of positive things happening now on the St. George Street.
For us to be able to attract new businesses, it just shows how businesses want to be here and they want to take part in what's happening downtown.
Two business owners in the area recently spoke to CTV News about concerns with crime and homelessness on and around St. George Street. But that's a few blocks away from Ivan's and the new Taj Mahal.
It's still happening on this side of the street, but it's much better than what it used to be. Yeah, but we're still seeing, of course. It's sad to see it.
The executive director of the Downtown Moncton organization says they spend a lot of time and energy advocating all three levels of government for change on the city's streets. The manager of the Taj Mahal restaurant didn't want to appear on camera today, but he feels like this part of the downtown is on an upswing, and he's hoping it stays that way. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
Some daycare workers in Cape Breton went on strike today. 23 employees walked the picket line outside the Monroe Academy Daycare in Sydney Mines. They're demanding full-time hours. 3 days of conciliation and last-ditch efforts over the weekend failed to result in an agreement.
This is a newly organized, publicly funded daycare. We've been trying to bargain a brand new collective agreement for these 23 women for a year. The only outstanding issue is they will not pay them 40 hours a week. 38.5 is as high as the employer would go through bargaining, even with the publicly funded arrangement with the province.
The union says workers want the employer to match the hours and schedules offered at other Cape Breton area child care centers. Still to come tonight, a clearing mix, you want to call it that, of weather, sun, little cloud. That's coming tomorrow. Kayla Mitchell has what's on our way tonight next.
Start your morning with us an hour early. We have a fresh new look starting Monday, September 15th, filled with news, weather, and the same laughs you love. Your Morning Atlantic from 6 to 9 on CTV2 and CTVAtlantic.ca.
That's where it ends, or begins, Kayla Mitchell, depending on how you look at it. That is Meat Cove at the very tip.
Yeah.
Of Cape Breton Island.
Oh, the views up there are just amazing, huh?
Nice to see some folks still there in the trailers, the campers, taking in, you know, squeezing out the last of the summer.
Yeah, I wonder what impact the dry conditions are going to have on the display of the fall colors this year. I would imagine it's not going to be a positive impact for them just because of the tree stress that's been around. But even with that, I expect that the display, and it always is going to be amazing in Cape Breton. Let's take a look at weather conditions across the country before we get back to our forecast here in the Maritimes. Temperatures, after cooling through the end of last week, recovering a little bit now through parts of the west. In the prairies, we've got Edmonton now sitting at 26 degrees and 26 as well at Saskatoon and Regina, 23 at Winnipeg. Up north, Whitehorse sitting at 14, and Yellowknife sitting at 10, at Iqaluit sitting at 7 degrees. Southern Ontario, pretty mild temperatures, 20 for Windsor and 18 for Toronto and Ottawa, 19 at Montreal, and same thing goes for Fredericton. 18 in Halifax right now, 19 at Charlottetown, and 20 in St. John's. Taking a look at our timeline for cloud cover and precipitation for tonight. Mainly clear for New Brunswick. Some partial clearing for both Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. Winds out of the northwest. It is a drier brand of air moving in off the continent, and that should help prevent a lot of fog from developing. So I don't expect there to be too many issues when it comes to visibility to start the day for tomorrow. And in Tuesday's forecast, sunny for New Brunswick and clearing to a mix of sun and cloud for both Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. Just a few clouds expected to be around Tuesday evening and night, and that's mostly going to be some thin high cloud cover, increasing for parts of Nova Scotia from the south off of a low pressure system that maybe brings a chance of showers to that province late Wednesday into Thursday. Now, winds in the forecast for tonight become lighter. Tomorrow's winds change direction, becoming more southerly by the afternoon. Out of the south for New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island, and out of the south and southeast for Nova Scotia. Generally light, though, being sustained between 10 and 20 kilometers per hour. Low temperatures for tonight. Brisk for the province of New Brunswick. Up in the northwest, some low temperatures getting down between around 0 and 4 degrees. Those frost advisories in effect other areas in New Brunswick tonight with lows between 5 and 8. Because of some lingering cloudiness, it doesn't get quite as cool for Prince Edward Island and for Nova Scotia. Both those provinces, most lows 8 to 12 degrees, except on the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia, where some lows will be between 13 and 16. Highs in the north of New Brunswick for tomorrow between 18 and 22, and it's low 20s for southern and central parts of that province. Looking at 21 at Campobello and Grand Manan. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with high temperatures between 19 and 21 degrees, the mix of sun and clouds, so a very fair weather September day, as it will be across much of Nova Scotia. 19 to 22 for Cape Breton, 22 there at Baddeck. Low 20s for both the north shore and eastern shore of Nova Scotia. Cumberland, Colchester counties for tomorrow with high temperatures 20 to 23 degrees around Halifax, close to 21, 20 at Chester and Lunenburg. 22, though, for Shelburne and for Yarmouth for tomorrow in the Annapolis Valley with high temperatures near 23 degrees. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook for New Brunswick coming up on Wednesday, more sunshine and high temperatures low to mid-20s. Low to mid-20s on Thursday with a mix of sun and cloud. Mostly sunny on Friday. Temperatures cooling, so highs are around the high teens. Low 20s, though, for the weekend, featuring a mix of sun and cloud. Same thing goes for Monday of next week and looking pretty dry through that stretch of days so far. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, next higher chance of showers for that province comes in late Wednesday and extends into Thursday with a low pressure system moving up and past the Atlantic coastline. That's followed by sunnier conditions as high pressure moves back in for both Friday and Saturday, and then a mix of sun and cloud at the end of the weekend and into the start of next week. A lot of high temperatures through the next several days, high teens, low 20s. And for Prince Edward Island forecast, sunshine on Wednesday, highs near 23 degrees. Chance of showers on Thursday, and then on Friday, a mix of sun and cloud, highs near 17. 19 in the weekend forecast right now for Saturday and Sunday, then back up to 22 degrees on Monday of next week, Todd.
That is a lot of sunshine.
It is.
Okay, we'll see you for the wake-up weather at the end of the show. Kaylin, next we'll talk about the tariff funding announced for Atlantic Canada businesses. Then it's our nightly look at entertainment news.
Hey, it's Paige Penny. I'm a singer-songwriter originally from St. John's, Newfoundland. I'm nominated for a CCMA award this year, and I can't wait to tell you more about it right here on CTV.
So we kicked off 5K a day today. Your chance at $5,000 each day. Keywords coming between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
And tomorrow is your shot at $100 to suit you. Good luck.
Welcome back on this Monday evening. We return now to the Prime Minister's announcement on trade funding for businesses affected by White House tariffs. Ron Marcolin is the Divisional Vice President of the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters for New Brunswick and PEI. But we've reached him in Christina Lake, British Columbia tonight on the other side of the country. So thank you for that, Ron. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Todd. Thank you again for having me.
$80 million of a $1 billion program earmarked for Atlantic Canada's small and medium businesses. Not going to make a difference?
It is. It is to some. Now, obviously, in context of the dollar that you just mentioned, it is small, but it is a start, and it is very relevant. We think it's very timely, obviously. We've been dealing with the stress for now a number of months, 8+ months, and you and I and others have had long conversations about this over that duration. We think it's administered as well, Todd, by the right people, obviously by the federal government, but by ACOA is really who I'm referring to. They have the structure in place, they have the people in place, and they certainly know the region very well with the help of their provincial counterparts.
So you think having ACOA dole this money out, that's something that your members and maybe other small and medium businesses can work with? They should make it a fairly smooth process?
I came from
yes, and I think to underline that comment of yours, you got to make it smooth, you got to make it timely, you got to eliminate the red tape and the regulation. Some of our manufacturers in the community in Atlantic are struggling. They continue to struggle, although they are very resilient. The fact of the matter is when you do deal with government programs, they have to be easy to administer from the government side, but more importantly and selfishly from us manufacturers, you have to make it easy for us to apply and then more importantly get the funds in at the right time in a very timely basis. We are fortunate because we all know ACOA, we know the good work they do, and we know the process. We've been dealing with them for years. So again, to repeat, it is timely and it is the right way to go to market, as it were, if you call it that.
So we know that the seafood industry will qualify for this, lumber no doubt. You represent manufacturing in the region. Will they qualify, and what sort of help do they need, Ron?
So yes, they will qualify, and yes, they do need help. And of course, this is more focused on small to medium manufacturers. I think it's very fair to say the large manufacturers have it figured out. They're in multiple countries, they're in multiple markets with various products that they ship. So they have a system in place well in advance of Trump and tariffs, sort of 2.0, as it were, in the second term. The small and medium ones, they have weathered the storm, but I think it's also very fair to say that they do need help. They do need some financial help. Some, however, though, in fairness, are CUSMA compliant. So they have been dealing with the tariff situation because they're exempt. What we're focused on is the non-exempt ones, the ones that are being taxed or tariffed, and quite frankly need the help from the government, but in a very fashion where, again, as I say, is timely and relevant, and it has to be sort of easy to get to, as long as you qualify, of course.
Some of these industries are very specific in what they do. Are they in a position to diversify? Is that even possible?
Well, it is interesting, and that's a very good question, because diversification is great as a concept. But once you get into sort of the nuts and bolts of it, you have to realize that it takes quite a while to get into new markets. It does take quite a while because, in fairness, it's relationship building. It's not that you're just going to, show a person in a different country or a company a different widget or way to go to market. You ultimately have to have a relationship with them. They have to know how you produce your product. I mean, things like timeliness, things like terms of agreement, you have to follow up in a very regular basis. It's not one and done. So if you're, for example, using our strategic advantage as Atlantic Canadians to go to Europe, you have to, in essence, touch your customers on a regular basis and follow up and really do account management 101. So whereby they, obviously feel that you are ultimately a good supplier, a timely supplier, and have a good quality product to supply.
I know a little bit about Christina Lake, and where you're sitting, I'm wondering if you can see the United States out that window of yours, and can companies easily, we hear a lot about pivoting away from the United States for those new markets, and you mentioned larger industries in the region have the capability to do that. If some have done it already, can the smaller ones do that?
Yes, so you refer to the U.S. out the window. Yes, we are literally on the border. So we literally look out the window and see the mountains, which happen to be in the state of Washington. There are localized businesses in this part of the country that will have the equivalent of COA funding. And yes, it's sort of what they do with it and how quickly they get into it. A lot of people, to be fair, haven't really used a series of government funds over the years. So they have to be educated. I think it's a very fair thing to say that the COA equivalents in Western Canada and elsewhere will do that very quickly and make it not a cumbersome process, which is very positive, of course. Yes, you look around this part of the country and there are a lot of small businesses. Now, of course, it does equate to Atlantic Canada in the sense of, yes, British Columbia has softwood lumber, obviously. Yes, they have mining, and obviously, as you know all too well, parts of Atlantic Canada are into mining as well. But manufacturing, and mostly part of a bigger supply chain. Are they able to pivot? Yes, they have looked outside the box. They certainly have the ability to pivot, and I think it's very fair to say they have. I think it's fair to say they will continue to pivot and look to other markets. It's unfortunate that they've had a president from another country sort of force this upon them. Some may argue they should have been doing this years ago, but the fact that they are now doing it is a very positive thing.
Ron, we'll have to leave it there. There's lots to talk about. We will continue this conversation when you get back to this coast. Thanks for your time tonight.
Okay. Thank you for your interest, Todd. Have a great day.
You too. We'll take a break. We're back in 2 minutes.
Doctors are calling for restrictions on sports betting ads, saying they are setting youth up for a future of problem gambling.
Doctors are calling out the vast number of sports betting ads that are flooding sports broadcasts and on social media, warning that teenagers can't help but see them too. An editorial published today in the Canadian Medical Association Journal is warning about the risks of future problem gambling for the young. Editor and family physician Dr. Shannon Charlebois says in addition to the ads showing up often during sports broadcasts, the names of sports betting platforms are also projected onto football fields and hockey rinks. She says that is very dangerous for children to see because it's normalizing a known harmful behavior during an impressionable stage. New research has found ultra-processed foods may harm young men's heart and reproductive health, even if they don't eat more calories. Ultra-processed foods include things like frozen pizzas, chips, packaged snacks, sugary cereals, and soft drinks. In Canada, they make up roughly half of the average person's diet. Even when calories were matched, the men in the study gained significantly more weight eating the ultra-processed diets, and their cholesterol levels worsened. The study was published in Cell Metabolism. Finally, every generation seems to point the finger at each other, but according to a new survey, kids these days are getting ruder and more unapologetic. The poll, conducted by the Pew Research Center in the U.S., found 47% of U.S. adults recently surveyed say the way people behave in public these days is ruder than before the COVID-19 pandemic. Blame for the trend is being laid at the feet of technology, stress, and a diminished understanding of etiquette. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
It's Monday night. We're on the scene with Katie Kelly. How's the weekend?
It was great. How yours?
Yeah, good weekend.
Nice.
Tonight we're spotlighting a rising star, Paige Penny.
Yes, Todd.
That is a classic Newfoundland last name.
Is Penny a classic?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I loved that her name was Paige Penny and I was Katie Kelly. We kind of loved it. We both had a little bit of alliteration.
Of course.
But the Newfoundland-born, now Nashville-based country artist is having a breakout year, Todd.
First day of school, that's when I met you.
I started playing guitar when I was 7, and since my dad is a writer too, we just started writing songs basically as soon as I could talk.
This is my band, The Old Souls, and we're gonna play a few songs for you guys today.
Paige Penny has been performing for as long as she can remember.
And then I saw my name, and I just dropped the curling iron, dropped my phone, started screaming.
2025 has been her biggest year yet.
Blame your southern drawl, preaching to my heart, the way you say my name, smooth like whiskey when you talk.
I had my first single go to Canadian country radio and chart all the way to number 34, making it a top 40 hit, which was so cool, and it ended up landing me my first ever CCMA nomination, which was crazy.
That Canadian Country Music Award nomination for Innovative Campaign of the Year came from the creative online buzz Paige built around her song with friends, Southern Drawl.
Yes. Oh my God, I love it. This is fire, yeah. As a Newfoundlander, I was born to go up and talk to random strangers on the street. That is just like a birthright kind of thing, so I think doing it on Broadway was no different. And we got their authentic reactions to the song and posted a bunch of it online, made it a series, and it ended up getting really good traction.
Her latest single, Car Heart to Heart, was inspired by the clothing brand she not only sees everywhere in Nashville, but has special childhood memories of.
My grandparents owned an auto body shop when I was growing up called Seaview Auto in Logie Bay, Newfoundland. And my grandpa was always wearing Carhartt, like decked out in Carhartt.
This year, Penny also teamed up with East Coast hitmaker Gordie Sampson, a collaboration she calls a dream come true.
He's just a genius. Like, that's really all I can say. Working with him was such an honor.
With that new music and more on the way and momentum building, this breakout year is only the beginning.
It's been so amazing to see all this hard work paying off.
Only wanted you to hold me.
so young and so amazing already. So cool to see. So you can follow Paige Penny or find more details about her latest music online. By the way, Todd, the 2025 CCMA Awards will be broadcast live on CTV this Saturday night.
Thank you for the plug. The bosses will like that.
Yes, the category that that Paige is nominated for, there are a few East Coasters in that same category. It's really cool.
Right?
It's really, really cool. I'm going to be talking to another one tomorrow night, Cameron Nickerson, who is from Yarmouth, another amazing local musician, also falls under that category. So we'll learn more about him and his music tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
it's a big year for us.
Wish them all luck.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be transitioning to film for the rest of the week, right?
So starting Wednesday night, it is the Atlantic International Film Festival. It's kind of the big red carpet event. Wednesday, I'm going to be live from that, and then you're going to be getting a bunch of film content for the next week or so. Some really, really exciting stuff happening this year. So I can't wait to share it. As usual, it's going to be awesome.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. We'll see you tomorrow night. We'll see you right after this.
With Crash and Sarah Betts.
It's Harvest Music Festival week, so tomorrow, starting at 8, all things Harvest Music Fest.
And listen for that next keyword for your chance to win $20,000 with Moves Dream Big.
Opened the trading week up 114 points. Air Canada's flight attendants gave a big thumbs down on an offer from the airline. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has the details.
99% of the flight attendants who voted against the wage offer. The offer included a 20% wage increase over 4 years for those with 5 years or less on the job. Now negotiations will go to a mediator, which will avoid a strike. Flight attendants did strike mid-August, paralyzing the carrier and upsetting the travel plans of thousands around the world. Here's how the trading day ended. The Canadian dollar is up to 72.43. West Texas Intermediate is up 39 cents to 62.26. Western Canadian Select dropped $1.55 to under $50 a barrel. And the TSX dropped 22 points today, but remains above 29,000. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
All right, let's go to the weather deck. Kalen has one more look at the forecast. Kalen?
Yeah, thank you, Todd. So it's a cloudy evening out here in the north end of Halifax. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. And for that, we're going to go to the Salt Marsh Trail at Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. It was sent in by Elizabeth Tomlick. I want to thank Elizabeth very much for taking this picture. Got some wildlife here, cormorants, and apparently they were putting on a bit of a show. As for Cole Harbour for tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud expected and a high temperature near 22 degrees. Now remember, while it is cloudy here in the north end of Halifax, it is going to be mostly clear tonight for large areas of New Brunswick, and because of that, the temperatures in that province, well, they get brisk overnight and enough that a frost advisory has been issued for the northwestern corner of New Brunswick. So certainly for any areas or communities that are underneath that frost advisory, if you have any temperature sensitive plants out that you cover up or bring inside, tonight would be a good night to do so. In the forecast for tomorrow, from Tuesday morning into Tuesday afternoon, it remains sunny for New Brunswick and it becomes a fair weather mix of sun and cloud for Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. The afternoon high temperatures around the region, mostly in the low 20s. Let's find out what's coming up tomorrow on CTV Morning Live.
Tuesday on CTV Morning Live, teaching children about 911.
If there was an emergency in your home, would your child know how to get help? That's the topic in this week's Medivie Health Connect.
News, weather, and more. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, Tuesday.
Finally tonight, the latest artwork by street artist Banksy was seen at the Royal Courts of Justice in London this morning. As per tradition, the reclusive artist posted pictures of the mural to his social media accounts. It depicts a judge in a traditional wig and a robe beating a protester on the ground. You guessed it, they covered that up and quick. Security guards were also posted at the site. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco is here after CTV National News tonight with our late local newscasts. CTVNewsAtlantic.ca has updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you right back here tomorrow night at 6 for your local news. Until then, have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.